Family, okay, I hope you guys are having a phenomenal day. If not, do understand and get your day is going to get better once your perception gets better. So, this video is really inspired by me being in a bathroom and I was dyeing my hair and I was listening to Bob Proctor. So, for some of you guys who don't know who Bob Proctor was, he was part of The Secret, he was in personal development. He was a coach. He talked about the paradigm and how to shift your paradigm so you could get better results, right? Whether that's you becoming successful, wealthy, whatever it was that you wanted to manifest, you was able to do it, okay? And so while I was in the bathroom, I had this moment, this aha moment, right? For some reason, it came to me. And one of the self images I had of myself. First off, I highly recommend you guys get this book, okay? Psycho Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, right? This book is such a phenomenal read. It talks about the self-image and everything and how to change your perception of yourself. And so, anywho, I remember I had this self-image once upon a time of myself not being smart, right? Because the truth of the matter was when I was 12 years old, for some of you guys who don't know my story, let me just give you a background. So when I was 12 years old, I started getting into criminal activity, meaning I started selling drugs. I was placed on probation. I would break the probation because maybe I sold drugs again, or maybe I didn't go in the house the time of my curfew, or I wasn't going to school. Okay, so at 12, I had dropped out of school because I wanted fast money, right? And so me dropping out of school, and let me say this, your environment is so important because what you constantly be around, that's what you start doing. And the guys that I used to be around were like, they was drug dealers, right? And I remember how I had started selling drugs because I wanted fast money. It was a guy who I had asked, for money from, and that video is in my playlist. It's basically how I got started, selling drugs and how I got arrested at 12 years old. But anywho, so when I dropped out of school, I was attending this Catholic school and never went to a public school up until that time. And when I had dropped out, I remember, so I wasn't doing anything pertaining to school because the people that I was hanging with, they was older, and none of them was going to school. So, I was being a product of my environment. And I remember when I was in the youth house, right, and somebody had came out to test me. I think it was from DIFAS, CPS. Is it CPS? But DIFAS. They came to the youth house to give me like this test, right, to see what grade level I should be in. And I remember I failed this test so bad, right? It was so bad. And what happened was when I had got released from the youth house, I was one of the stipulations for in order for me to get released, I was to go to school, okay, and I was to come in the house at my curfew, and I was not to sell any more drugs, okay. And so when I had got released, my father was to register me for public school. Now, I was afraid to go to public school. I ain't even gonna hold you and I ain't even gonna lie, okay? Because I grew up in the projects and most of the kids or some of the kids that grew up in the projects or knew me, right? A lot of them didn't like me because I had a smart mouth and they didn't like me, right? And what wound up happening was when I was supposed to go to school, I didn't go. I went to school and then I hurried up and left. Okay. And so that was like basically me breaking my probation. And I never knew I had this self image of myself, like not being smart, right? Until, like, as I'm in the bathroom, I'm thinking about, like, the different times. And like I said, this idea just came to me. So I haven't, like, I stopped going to school from that point, let's just say from 12 years old, up until I was about, what was it, 13, 14, right? Because then I had went to this all girls home, whereas though you have to go to school because the school is like literally like on a camp. It looked like a campus, like a college campus, but you have to go to school. And so I started going to school there, and then I had, got my GED. And then once I had got released from that program, I had came back to my hometown, right, which is in New Jersey, and Jersey City, right? Came back to my hometown, and I started going to high school. And because I was like so behind, I was placed into special ed, right? And that took like a toll on me. At that time, like I didn't really understand. I didn't want people to know I was in special ed. Like I didn't make the comparison or say, oh well, because of you didn't go to school all these years, that's why you now in special ed. But I never said that. Like my self-image was that I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't good enough, and people was gonna think that I was slow, all these different things. And what also added to that was this lady I had went to the store for, right? This lady that I knew very well. I had went to the store for her. And when I came back, I had brought her change. And she was like, what is this? She was like, where's the rest of the change? And I was like, that's what the guy gave me. And she was like, at that time, I think I was about 14, right? And she was like, that's not the rest. She was like, that's not the change. You need to go back to that store. And I felt like so embarrassed and humiliated. Like I felt like I couldn't count, like, and sometimes maybe I can't, right? But I felt like so embarrassed and humiliated. That was one time. And then it was another time I went to Family Dollar I was working at Family Dollar, and I was on the register. I was giving this guy his change back. The change was wrong. And he was like, I supposed to get more change back. So it was like all these different things that were like reaffirming my belief system, right? And so how did I change my belief system? How did I change my self-image? One of the things that I started understanding was that I am good enough, okay? And I don't have to go to school in order to learn, right? Let me say that again, okay? That I am good enough and I don't have to go to school to learn. Because up until that point, I used to think that, in order for me to be smart or whatever it is, I have to go to school, which school, it takes away your creativity, whatever, right? But that is not true. So I started investing in me. And some of the things that I started investing in was me learning, okay? Because a lot of the things that we tend to know or think that we know, we need to unlearn, relearn, okay? Unlearn to relearn, right? And so that means like all your belief systems that you ever had, your perception, your paradigm is causing you to get the habits that you is causing you to get the results that you get because of your perception, okay? If you think that you're not good enough or smart enough, then it's going to be certain things that is going to indicate that, because that's your self-image. That's how you see yourself, right? And so I started buying books. I got into personal development. These were some of the things that helped me change my self-image. So one, I started investing in myself. That was one. And the investment would be whether I'm listening to personal development, okay, giving my time to personal development, where so it's going to change my perception of myself, is going to change the way I view myself, is just going to overall change my self-image, right? Then two, I started buying books, right? And I started reading them, okay? And the books and the personal development that I give my time to, it helps me feel better about myself. It helps me understand that I am not my past experiences, okay? I am able to get better from life. And although I went through these things, that does not define who I am. Oh, hello, honey. That does not define who you are, okay? So there's three. Then I started meditating and observing my thoughts, paying attention to the way I view myself, the way I am showing up. Okay, so that is 4. And then 5, changing my environment, which probably 5 would probably be 1, but changing my environment. Okay, being around people that are like-minded individuals that are operating from a standpoint of their imagination, their willpower, imagination, will, their intuition, like our higher faculties, right? As opposed to, what we are taught in school based upon what we see, smell, taste, touch, feel, right? I started operating from those higher faculties. So I hope this helps someone out there out. But let me just read this passage that is in this phenomenal book, Psycho Cybernetics. Okay, and it says, once one college because of poor grades entered Columbia and became a straight A student. A girl who had flunked Latin 4 times after 3 talks with the school counselor finished with a grade of 84. A boy who was told by a testing bureau that he had no aptitude for English won honorable mention for the next year. For these students was not that they were dumb or lacking in basic aptitudes. The trouble was an inadequate self-image. I don't have a mathematical mind. I'm just naturally a poor speller. They identify with their mistakes and failures. Instead of saying, I failed that test, factual and descriptive, they concluded I'm a failure. Instead of saying I flunked that subject, they said I'm a flunk out. For those who are interested in learning more, and it talks about a guy, Lucky's work, and is a book called Self Consistency, a Theory of Personality. Okay, but that book is like at a print. So I hope you guys got something from this. So there's like my 5 ways of basically how I started changing my self-image. Okay, understand you have the ability to change your self-image. You do not have to stay the same. I don't care what you've been through, what challenging life you may have had in the past, right? Understand those things are there to make you a stronger person, and also there to grow you, right? So with that being said, I love you guys. Love you, love you, love you. Make sure you're rocking out, believing in yourself, and understand you have the ability to change your life. Peace.